So, hello and welcome to the mindfulness session for Cancer Support Group today, which is April the 30th. Today, I thought it might be quite nice to do a little bit of practice around being in our senses. Right? Very often during our day, when we have especially things going on that might be um, affected by treatment or by appointments or by uncertainty, very often as we go through our day, we have this kind of background or foreground things just to keep going round in the head. What does this mean? What might happen? Things I should have done or could have done, this very natural kind of worrying type of thinking that we all get when we're in times of uncertainty. Very often, though, actually, there is nothing that we've done wrong. There's nothing necessarily perfect to do in the future. There's often very many different options and possibilities that are open to us, none of which are perfectly right or perfectly wrong. But a worrying state of mind pushes us into this belief that I've done something wrong or I need to be better. And that can be very draining, very stressful. How do we work with that in mindfulness? Well, coming into our senses is a way of dropping out of that mind loop of thinking and to give yourself a break, come into awareness of what is actually going on in the body, in the world around you at this moment in time. Because when we're in our senses, we are hearing or seeing or smelling or tasting, or there's some sort of sensation on the skin, or we're sensing into maybe temperature or into posture. And there's no worrying about the past and there's no worrying about the future. There's simply, a sense of touch, a sense of bone or flesh or something coming from the world outside or inside through the senses. So today I thought we'll do a little practice on that. We will start with awareness of, as always, the grounding of being in the body, being in the breath, just to get ourselves settled into practice. Then we might check in with awareness of sensations in the body, and then maybe things like sound. And if you would like to today, perhaps also just set yourself up so that if you feel like it at some point, I might say, open your eyes and have a look around. If you're next to a window, or maybe if like me, if you don't have a window handy, you might have lots of plants or something in your room that you can look at. Um, that's going to be part of today's practice as well. And as always, at the end, if you're on the video, you might take some time to journal a little bit about what you noticed during the practice. And here we might have a bit of a discussion. So hopefully my introduction has given you time to find a place to sit or to lie down for today's practice. And therefore, let's begin. So for this part of the meditation, you could be sitting or lying. We begin maybe just by closing the eyes. And coming into a sense of arriving into our mindful awareness. Arriving into mindful awareness. This might bring us an awareness of the posture, perhaps awareness of points of contact between the body and the surface beneath you, maybe a chair or a bed or a mat. Just noticing where the weight of the body is received and held by that chair or that mat or the bed. And from that, as we drop more into the body, perhaps an awareness of the movement of breathing. So we might feel the movement of breathing in the chest, the belly, mouth or nose. You might feel that flow of in-breath and out-breath. And at this point, you might also be aware of a certain energy in your body, a sense that it's easy today to lie down and drop into awareness. Or perhaps you're noticing it's actually quite difficult, you're very agitated or distracted. So both of these are perfectly normal, and there's no right way or wrong way to be in our practice. It's more about just noticing what happens as we begin our practice. Noticing that sense of restlessness or noticing a sense of ease and relaxation. You can say to yourself, well done for noticing the energy that's in me right now. And whichever you find, we continue with our practice of just noticing where in the body that energy is felt. And we might start on the skin or the kind of external surface of the body. Might be in your hands or your arms, the skin on your throat, or even the skin that's in contact with clothing. So let's just connect through the senses, through the dropping under words to a place of physical sensations. Just be curious and explore any sensations of temperature that might be present on the skin of the body today. So here we're using our senses to drop into what is present and felt in the body right now. And as you go around different places in the body, perhaps noticing some feel warm, others might feel cooler. See if we can discern the different temperatures that we could be aware of in different places on the body. Places in clothing, places open to the air, places that are resting on a surface. Perhaps also awareness of the temperature of the body relative to the temperature of the room that you're in. What does the air feel like on your skin? Is there a sense of the room being warm or cool? And we might go inside the body. Just being curious, is there a way that we can sense into the internal temperature of the body? And we might be curious, maybe there's a difference in the sense of the temperature in the hands temperature in the feet. What about the arms, the temperature of the arms compared to the legs? Whether you're sitting or lying, is there anything you notice when comparing the temperature of the back to the temperature of the belly and the chest? What about temperature of the face and the scalp, the ears? So when we check into temperature and we go back and check again, often things change. Body temperature is always changing, heating up, cooling down. So as we go through this meditation practice, every time we tune back into the temperature of the body, perhaps we notice new sensations of warmth or coolness around the body. And other ways that we can use our senses to tune into the body, we think about all the nerve endings in our muscles, the fleshy parts of the buttocks, the legs, the back, the arms, all these muscles all over the body. Could we discern even the difference between regions of tension, regions of relaxation? So perhaps beginning with the feet and the legs. And we can't really go into a meditation like we would go into solving a problem and think our way. You have to really drop out of thinking, come into the space beneath words, to sensations of tension or holding in the muscles, or sensations of ease and relaxation. There might be holding, bracing of the muscles, or even a fidgeting. So what do we find when we just open awareness into legs and feet today? Can we discern perhaps different intensity of sensation? Any stiffness or soreness in the muscles? Is there a particular intensity or location? If there's a sense of restlessness, is it felt more in the feet or the thighs or the knees? And we can do the same. We can drop in maybe to the muscles of the pelvis or the back, going all the way up to the neck. There might be little spots of tension or tightness in some of those muscles. Perhaps places where we feel the muscles working to hold our posture, a balance, or places where muscles are at rest and relaxed. We're just simply curious, how can we sense into those sensations within the muscles? What happens when we turn our curiosity towards those sensations? We could move to our arms, our shoulders, and our arms and our hands. Again, just curious about the muscles and the flesh. Even the muscles of the fingers, muscles of the wrists or the forearms, muscles of the shoulders. What happens when we turn our attention towards those sensations? And we can also be curious about the muscles of the face, the jaw, the lips, the eyes, the cheeks, all the fleshy parts of face, cheeks, jaw, throat, any sensations that we find here. As we do this practice, we can notice the difference between sensing and thinking. Right? Sensing is just noticing what that tense muscle feels like, what the intensity of that stiff joint feels like, what the temperature feels like. And there might also come thinking, this is good, or I don't like this. This is boring. This is interesting. Uh, a judgment, I can't do this. I can't feel, or I can. All that is thinking. So, can we notice the difference between simply sensing into the body and then notice when we're thinking about what we're doing? And when we notice thinking for today, can we just go, oh, yeah, I've gone into thinking, come back to a sensation, a, a sense, some information coming from the senses in the body. So we've explored our muscles. We could go deeper still. Just open up a curiosity. Is there any information that you can connect with in your body that gives a sense of having bones? The bones of the feet. Even if we wiggle our toes, we can feel that there's something solid in there holding the structure of the foot. We can feel the solidity against a surface, perhaps, or we notice that within that flesh of the foot, there's this solidity of the bone inside. As we pay attention to the movement of feet and ankles, we can feel the articulation of joints and perhaps also awareness of the bones within the legs and the knees. If you bring any sort of gentle movement to the hips and the back, a sense of the spine, the pelvic girdle, maybe even the ribs and the arms, as our body moves, we certainly become more aware of the physical bones that hold the structure of the body and the articulations that allow us to manipulate our body while maintaining its posture. So it's interesting, we don't really imagine having nerve endings in our bones, and yet we have this sensory awareness of the solidity of the skull, of the eye sockets, of the teeth, the jaw. We have a sense of the spine from the neck down to the pelvis, the framework of shoulders and arms. And lastly, we could maybe drop into a curiosity of any awareness of the internal organs. We might sense into the gut for awareness of digestion. Maybe there's sensations of fullness or satisfaction or hunger. Even if we don't know what everything looks like inside, we can get a sense of the body digesting, stomach and intestines. Might notice saliva in the mouth as well, maybe even a taste of something. And of course, we can connect to breathing, the movement of lungs as they expand and release. We sense that movement also perhaps in the belly or the back, in the chest, the arms, the ribs. Maybe also we feel the pulsing of the heart, and there might be places in the body, maybe even in the toes or the fingers, where we feel the pulsing, the tingling that comes from the circulation, the nerve endings that pick up these sensations. Could be aware of a pulsing that's felt in the head or the ears, the neck, fingers, legs. So we can rest physically in this awareness of a body connected together, living and breathing. A sense again of temperature on the skin, perhaps it's different from when we began our practice. So this is also a dynamic body, changes minute to minute, new sensations arising and fading. We could also, though, be aware of how the body takes in information from the outside world. And we've already noticed that sense of touch and pressure that comes from lying on a bed or a mat. The body knows it's connected to the surface that receives your weight. We have this sense of being supported and held, secure and safe. You might tune in again just to those places. Notice where the weight of the body is held most securely. Is it going through the buttocks or the pelvis if you're sitting? Is any of the weight held by the legs, the feet? Anywhere that the back or the neck or the head might be in contact with that surface? Perhaps there's places in the body where the hands are touching each other or the arms are touching the sides of your body. Always this sense of touch. Even if we're not literally reaching out to touch something, there's this sense that the skin is in contact with air, with clothing. And even if you were to touch your hands together or just rub your palms on your thighs, we feel those senses of touch just coming alive, texture, the difference between awareness of the hand that is touching and awareness of the hand that is being touched. If we're touching the thighs, the awareness of the hand, what the thigh feels like to the hand, but also what the hand feels like on the thigh. As you run your hands on the thighs, you can even be aware of those things we sensed into earlier, the flesh of muscle, the hardness of bone, the shape and the contour of the body. But we feel it in a different way using a different sense. We can feel the shoulders, the chest, the flesh of the arms, how different it feels when we use this sense of touch compared to just sensing from inside. And even a sense of the skin of the face, the lips, and all the different textures. Notice the eyebrows, perhaps, or the eyelashes, or the eyelids. And if we stop that, could also be aware of the world around us through other senses. So instead of sensing inwards to body, why not sense outwards? We might start with the sense of hearing. So I'll stop talking so much, but just to be aware of any sounds, maybe loud or soft, maybe regular or intermittent. Just noticing the way that that sound comes into the body through the ears. What happens as we hear those sounds arise and fade. When we listen to sound, we could be aware also of just the lack of sound or the gaps between sounds. And of course, there's this sense of sight. As we invite, if you wish to, you could maybe open your eyes. Notice how all the senses kind of shift when we open our eyes. We get this huge input of information that comes in through the eyes. And then instantly there's a temptation to start thinking, naming, labeling. Can we go beneath that just to color, light, shape? And whether you're looking out a window or looking at a picture or a plant or some object, just notice what happens as you explore color, shape, texture, shadow, movement, stillness, little details. But without trying to think about things. If we notice thinking, can we just drop to a kind of silent observation, just of pure color, light, shape, pattern. And then we kind of notice how, although we're very rarely aware of it, the body certainly is. Somewhere in the middle of all that, there is an awareness of how internal body sense, external body sense, sound and smell and light, all the senses come together to give a sense of being here in this place, in this moment. Just a unique combination of sensual awareness. What we see can cause our heartbeat to go faster or slower. What we hear can draw our attention. We see something, we have an emotion, and sometimes as we look out the window, we kind of lose our sense of worry or pressure and we just be with the view, the little details. So when we're using our senses, we're not looking for anything in particular. We're just being curious. What happens if I tune into the information coming in through my senses. It's a practice that we could do anytime. Doesn't require half an hour or 40 minutes or an hour. Today we went all round all the senses and all round all the body. But in any situation where you need to drop out of that never-ending cycle of thinking, you can choose a sense and just play a game with it. What can I feel with my hands? What's the texture of this chair like? What's the texture of this object? And can I focus on that rather than this going through my head? What colors can I see in the room? What shapes can I see around me? What temperature can I feel on my skin? So just a way of tuning into the physical now of these senses drops us out of the worry of the future or the rumination on the past. It helps us to be aware of when we are sensing and when we are thinking. There's nothing wrong with thinking, but the awareness of thinking means we have a choice. Do I want to stay in this thinking or am I going to be back in the body? And also, of course, to listen more carefully to the body helps us just to be a lot more self-aware. Our care, if we notice that we've gone through several days where the body's quite tense and stiff, or there's a feeling in the gut, or there's a tension in the throat, well, maybe there's something going on in our life that we need to just be more aware of. Is there a way we can tune into the emotions or the feelings that are happening under the surface? We can tune in better to symptoms or changes in symptoms. So if we go to appointments or follow-ups, we can give people more nuanced information. And we can also tune in maybe to the energy. Maybe sometimes when we really tune in, we realize how tired we are, we realize how restless we are. Maybe we need to rest or go for a walk, and just listen to what the body's telling us. So that's our practice for today. Um, I'm going to bring our recording to an end. If you've noticed anything in your practice and you're on the recording, maybe write something in a journal. And the interesting thing is, if you drop back in even for 15 minutes a day of just checking in with your body, write down what you notice just in that 15 minutes, and then look at what you've recorded over a week. You can see there might be some patterns, or there might be particular sensations that you're aware of day by day that give you a greater understanding of just what's going on with you at the moment. And if you want, you've got this recording if you want to do a longer practice as you go through the week. So well done for your practice. Well done for being here. Give yourself a pat on the back and feel the sensation. Yeah, connect to that sensation of saying well done. And I'll end the recording there.